My ex-wife left me when I got cancer, then tried to take my treatment money. But this time I fought back. I'm 36, male. I never thought my marriage would crumble because of cancer, but that's exactly what happened. I had what seemed like a stable life, a loving wife named Qley, our beautiful 6-year-old daughter, and a modest house we called home. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. We had routines, dreams, and plans for the future. There were date nights on Fridays, weekend trips to the park with our daughter, and quiet evenings watching movies together. Looking back now, it feels like a different lifetime. When the doctor confirmed my diagnosis, my world shifted on its axis. I remember sitting in that sterile office, fluorescent lights humming overhead, as he explained the aggressive nature of my cancer and the extensive treatment needed. The treatment plan was daunting. Grueling chemotherapy sessions, mounting medical bills, and a long road ahead. Even with insurance, the co-pays alone would strain our finances. I expected Qley to be scared. Who wouldn't be? But what I didn't expect was her complete withdrawal. The changes were subtle at first, almost imperceptible. She stopped asking about my doctor's appointments. When I tried to discuss treatment options, she'd suddenly remember an urgent errand or phone call. I started noticing other signs too. Lengthy phone calls behind closed doors, emotional distance, and a growing coldness in her eyes. The woman who once couldn't fall asleep without holding my hand now flinched at my touch. When I finally gathered the courage to confront her about having an affair, her response cut deeper than any scalpel could. I want a normal, healthy husband who can provide. Not this, she said, her voice devoid of the warmth I once knew. There was no attempt to deny it, no shame in her admission, just cold, practical assessment of her needs and how I no longer met them. The next few weeks passed in a blur of betrayal and disbelief. Before I could process what was happening, Qley had packed her bags and taken our daughter. Worse still, she cleaned out our savings accounts, money we'd carefully set aside over years of marriage, including funds I'd hoped would help cover my medical expenses. The divorce that followed was brutal. Despite my lawyer's best efforts, Qley's well-connected attorney helped her secure everything except the house, which remained mine only because I'd owned it before our marriage. Adding insult to injury, I was ordered to pay $1,200 monthly in child support, a crushing burden given my circumstances. The judge seemed unmoved by my medical situation, focusing instead on maintaining our daughter's standard of living. I would never complain about supporting my child, but the timing and amount felt like a final twist of the knife Qley had planted in my back. The reality of my situation hit hard once the dust settled. I was alone, sick, and nearly broke. The house felt cavernous and empty without my family. Pictures still hung on the walls, happy memories that now seemed to mock me. I spent many sleepless nights wondering how I'd manage to pay for treatment while keeping up with child support and basic living expenses. My insurance would cover some costs, but the co-pays and deductibles loomed like mountains before me. But sometimes, when you're at your lowest, humanity shows its best side. My coworkers and friends refused to let me face this battle alone. It started small, a donation jar in the break room, a few local fundraising events. Then someone suggested creating a GoFundMe campaign. They wrote a heartfelt description of my situation, a devoted father fighting cancer while struggling to maintain child support payments after his wife left him. My colleagues took turns updating the page, sharing my story across social media platforms. Word spread through our small town like wildfire. Local businesses shared the campaign, church groups rallied their members, and complete strangers began donating. Some gave $5, others gave hundreds. Each contribution came with messages of support and encouragement. Before I knew it, the donations had reached $30,000, an amount that left me speechless with gratitude. I posted a tearful thank you video, trying to express how much their generosity meant to me. The comment section filled with well wishes and stories from others who'd faced similar battles. For the first time since my diagnosis, I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe I could actually focus on healing instead of drowning in financial worry. That's when Qley reappeared, like a vulture circling wounded prey. The first text came late one night. "We need to talk about that fundraiser money." I ignored it, but more messages followed. Soon my phone was buzzing constantly with her demands for a cut of the donations. Her excuse? Our daughter was growing up and needed more money. Never mind that I was already struggling to pay the substantial child support while covering my medical expenses. Her sense of entitlement was staggering. The voicemails she left dripped with scorn. "You're still paying child support, so obviously you can handle your treatment. What kind of father doesn't want his daughter to be happy? You better give me that money." Each message twisted the knife deeper, making me question how I'd ever loved someone capable of such cruelty. The situation reached its peak when Qley's threats escalated to legal action. A notice appeared under my door one morning, alleging I'd hidden assets during our divorce, namely, the GoFundMe money. The irony was bitter. Here I was, fighting for my life, relying on charitable donations for treatment, and she wanted to drag me back to court. Thankfully, my lawyer, an old friend who'd helped with the divorce, stood firmly by my side. "She's lost her mind," he said, fury evident in his voice. "We'll fight this absurdity." We prepared meticulously for the hearing, gathering medical bills, treatment plans, and documentation showing every penny from the fundraiser was earmarked for medical expenses. My lawyer also compiled evidence of how Qley had already drained our marital assets during the divorce, leaving me with virtually nothing except the house. Meanwhile, Qley tried rallying support from her new husband and family, spreading tales about my supposed dishonesty. But our small community knew me. They'd watched me work at the same company for years, maintain friendships, and faithfully pay child support despite my illness. The hearing itself felt like a cosmic joke. The judge, as fate would have it, recognized my case from the GoFundMe campaign. He'd even donated anonymously. He listened intently as I explained how every cent was dedicated to keeping me alive for my daughter. But what really turned the tide was when my attorney revealed Qley's true motivation. She wanted the money to buy her new stepson a sports car. The evidence was damning. Text messages from the stepson himself confirming the plan. The judge's reaction was a sight to behold. "Ma'am," he said, his voice measured but stern, "are you saying you want to redirect a cancer patient's donation money to fund a luxury vehicle for your new spouse's child?" Qley's attempts to justify herself only made things worse. She tried claiming family needs come first, that I had adequate insurance coverage, that I must have hidden money somewhere to afford both child support and treatment. The judge's patience wore thin as Qley's arguments grew more desperate. She even tried playing the victim, accusing me of using cancer as a sympathy ploy to gather money I refused to share. But each claim fell flat against the documented reality of my situation. The high co-pays, the specialized treatments not fully covered by insurance, the way child support was forcibly drawn from my modest paycheck, leaving me with barely enough to survive. In the end, justice prevailed spectacularly. Not only did the judge dismiss Qley's case with prejudice, preventing her from filing similar claims in the future, but he also ordered her to pay my legal fees. Furthermore, seeing how she'd harassed a seriously ill man for money intended for life-saving treatment, he deemed it appropriate to reduce my monthly child support, acknowledging my medical condition and her remarried status. The look on Qley's face when the ruling came down, a mixture of shock, fury, and disbelief, was almost worth all the stress she'd put me through. She stormed out of the courtroom, her new husband trailing behind, looking more embarrassed than angry. The relief I felt was indescribable, not just because I could keep the donations for their intended purpose, but because justice had finally recognized and stopped her predatory behavior. Now, I can focus on what matters, fighting my cancer and being there for my daughter. The donations are being used exactly as intended, for treatment, medication, and staying alive for my little girl. Qley never got that sports car for her stepson, and she's struggling to pay my legal fees. Her lifestyle has had to adjust to the reduced child support payments, and from what I hear, she's not handling it well. My daughter, now 7, remains largely shielded from the drama, though she notices her mother's bitter moods. I see her whenever my health permits, trying to give her the stability and love she deserves, despite everything. During our visits, we focus on creating happy memories, playing board games, reading stories, or just talking about her day at school. I never speak ill of her mother, no matter how tempting it might be. This whole experience taught me something valuable. While some people will abandon you at your lowest point, others will rise to support you in ways you never expected. My community rallied around me when I needed it most, and even the legal system, which had initially seemed stacked against me, ultimately served justice. The donations that saved my life weren't just about money. They were a testament to human kindness and solidarity in the face of adversity. Sometimes the good guys really do win. It's not about revenge or getting even. It's about surviving, maintaining your dignity, and remembering what truly matters. My ex-wife may have taken my savings and tried to claim my donation money, but she couldn't take my spirit or the support of my community. As I continue my treatments, I hold on to that truth, grateful for the second chance I've been given, both in terms of my health and my faith in humanity.